Wow, this is coming so very quick. According to Babangida, he says, my regime is a saint compared to what we have now. That means what he's saying is that his administration compared to the President Muhammadu Buhari administration is a saint. Well, last week a former military head, General Ibrahim Babangida, took a ding at the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. The retired general, who spoke to Arise TV on Friday, said his regime was a saint compared with what we have now. Well, you can't compare it with the facts on the ground now. From what I read, from analysis, I think we are saints when compared to what is happening under a democratic dispensation, IBB had said in the interview on Arise TV. Well, Ibrahim Babangida has said, compare his own administration, during the military regime to Buhari, that he is a saint. That means Buhari's administration is nowhere to be found when it comes to corruption. The two generals have shared history aside from their military careers. In December 1983, the two participated in the coup that toppled Shehu Shagari's administration. Following the coup, General Buhari became the head of state, while IBB, Ibrahim Babangida, became the chief of army staff. And less than 2 years, the same IBB led the palace coup that toppled General Buhari. IBB had said in his broadcast after the palace coup that Buhari betrayed the initial objectives, adding, because the present state of uncertainty, suppression, and stagnation resulted from the perpetration of a small group, the Nigerian armed forces could not, as a part of that government, be unfairly committed to take responsibility for failure. Major General Muhammadu Buhari was too rigid and uncompromising in his attitudes towards issues of national significance. Well, what is the fight against corruption? The then regime of Buhari had embarked on mass detention of politicians from the previous administration, including President Shagari and some notable state governors, for different corruption allegations. Some of the actions taken by the military regime of Buhari included the freezing of accounts of political parties and corrupt politicians, slashing of basic traveling allowance BTA from 500 naira to 100 naira as at that time. The regime also introduced the War Against Indiscipline, which is WAI, to combat what it considered as general indiscipline in the country. Furthermore, the introduction of austerity measures, which included the retrench of several civil servants, caused grave dissatisfaction among Nigerians. The regime on economy during Buhari's regime. The military regime of Buhari and the current administration have some similarities when it comes to economic policies and some notable changes. In 1984 to 85, the regime focused on import substitution as the cardinal point of its economic policies. By restricting the importation of certain items, it hoped to arrest the growing balance of payments deficit. Instead, the restriction led to high inflation. The administrative refused the advice of the International Monetary Fund to devalue the naira as part of measures to correct the pressure on the naira. While the present administration has adopted some policies such as land border closure, sectorial interventions targeted at rice sufficiency, the government has struggled to keep the naira stable. Debt continues to rise and the budget deficit is equally on the rise also. Former Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido, in an article in 2002, summarized Buhari-nomics as follows. I had no doubt in my mind that the position of Buharism was based on a sound understanding of neoclassical economics, and that those who were pushing for devaluation either did not understand their subject or were acting deliberately as agents of international capital in its rampage against all barriers set up by sovereign states to protect the integrity of the domestic economy. I still believe some of the key economic policy experts of the IBB administration were economic saboteurs who should be tried for treason. Buhari had, in his address after the coup, identified two major problems: twin problem of heavy budget deficit and weak balance of payments position. To achieve cutting the deficit, the administration adopted full austerity measures, including slashing the budget and clamping down on economic saboteurs with the legal backing of the Miscellaneous Offences Decree number 20 of 1984. Well, 53 bag scandal against the anti-corruption effort of the current administration has been tagged as selective. Former Senator Shehu Sani even stated that the president uses insecticide on friends, corruption allegations and perfumes on enemies. In 1984, there was the scandal of the 53 bags belonging to the then Emir of Gwandu that was brought into the country without customs check. The Emir, who was the father of Buhari's aide-de-camp, Major Mustafa Jokolo, allegedly brought in the bags from Saudi Arabia. The lack of check was against the currency change exercise law by the regime. The issue resurfaced in the build-up to the 2011 presidential election. Buhari, who was the candidate of the Congress for Progressive Change (CPC), claimed that bags belonged to Dr. Tahil Waziri, who came in with his 3 wives and 16 children in the same flight as the Emir. Buhari had in the same interview said that all questions should be directed to Atiku Abubakar, who was the controller of customs at the Murtala Muhammad Airport, Lagos. Garba Shehu, who was the spokesperson of Atiku then, blamed the issue on the big madness of elites in obeying laid down rules. Well, IBB era in comparison with what we have now as the Buhari administration. The Babangida's administration embarked on the rolling back of austerity measures put in place by his predecessor and instead adopted the structural adjustment programs (SAP) of the IMF. The policy, included the privatization of existing entities owned by the government. For many analysts, the privatization process served as a reward system for loyalists and supporters. Pelumi Olajengbesi, a member of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), while speaking with Daily Post, said the statement by the former head of state speaks volume about the state of the present administration. The fact that the statement by IBB could not be dismissed outrightly tells you how sad things are. The level of poverty, the general insecurity and the mistrust of the present administration provided the ground for the retired general to make such a statement. Hassan Nuruddin, a development expert, said, "For a man accused of institutionalism and institutionalizing corruption to say the military is saint when compared to this administration, then we need self-reflection in this country." Buhari as a civil president, corruption, insecurity and economic recession. The present administration has presided over 2 economic recessions within 4 years, and Nigeria is currently home to the largest number of extreme poor people in the world. Also, the corruption fight by the administration has been questioned by many as lacking in substance, which the president in an interview with NTA defended by saying, "When I was still much younger, I arrested governors. I put them under restriction or detention. I told them they were guilty until they could prove their innocence. Eventually, I myself was arrested and they were given back their loot." So this is Nigeria. Can you hear what the last statement said and reads, which Buhari said, he arrested and detained and did this and did that, which is, contrary to the question that was being asked. Well, I don't want to go further. I would like you to share your comments. Let's deliberate on the issue. Thanks for listening.